Hello, we'll give it a few minutes. If anyone else wants to join, they are more than welcome to. Today, we'll kind of just be talking about cooking and entertainment. Cooking has kind of it became more popular, less popular in the means of just it being a necessity, something we just do, something that is just part of life that we learn, that grows with us, that is part of our family and our structure and how we communicate with each other. I know cooking is a love language for me for sure. Just kind of as a chef, of course, it was a career aspect, but in general, if I care about you, I am going to make something the way I think it tastes best, but directed towards your flavors. I'm going to take notes on what you like and don't like. I am, if I think something tastes good, I would drive across town with a spoon in hand to let you try it, sort of thing, and I would just stare at you the whole time. So that to me is like how cooking can be a love language, but it can also kind of be a stress and a pain point for a lot of people. And when how it has grown to be kind of a form of entertainment and boasting and, being online, being very showy, it's kind of gone away from being just a normal everyday thing for some people. And it can be very intimidating. I even feel intimidated myself in a lot of ways. Of course, there's a pressure to perform as a chef, to have pretty meals, to have pretty food on Instagram, online. Like every meal should be beautiful and full of fresh, bright, vibrant ingredients. And that's not the reality. And that's not how every meal is. And that's not what we should expect it to be. Sometimes food is just a means of giving ourselves nourishment and love. And sometimes that is in the form of something that is quick, but also healthy. Sometimes it's, the lesser of two evils, and that's still what's best for us and what's right. And sometimes it's not as pretty. One of Julia Child's, that's the sum up her quote, I can't remember it perfectly, but she said, the prettiest plates have the most fingerprints on them and have been touched the most. If a plate looks perfect in a picture, that means someone sat there and was like, do, 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 and they had their hands in it. Sometimes that's good, but sometimes, all that fussiness is fussy. It's extra calories, it's extra ingredients, it's extra layers, which can be a good thing. You can build flavors that way. But sometimes people are almost chasing something, especially when they're getting used to cooking. And, they're adding and adding and adding and adding, and they're going towards something, but the calories are going to add up. Whereas maybe we wanted a flavor that could have been put there more easily in a technique and with less impact on our caloric budget, basically. And it's less fussy, it's easier. Sometimes just learning good, proper techniques can take us a long way in terms of, making healthy food. And the same can be said for healthy decision making. Sometimes, the healthiest option also means our mental and stress load. So that might be buying something that's pre-made that is just as good a quality or offers, at least close enough nutrient density in a good manner, not so much calorically dense, for us, as opposed to something that is quick and maybe it's a big fancy full meal, but has a lot of extra saturated fat and empty calories. And maybe it's not even as quick. We think it's quick going through drive-through or going to a restaurant, but how long are you sitting there and waiting and making decisions? And it's not quite what you're thinking. I mean, that's still a whole aspect of your day. So there are a lot of times, myself personally, where I'm sitting and eating something that's, it's not the fanciest. It's probably kind of like a grazed sort of meal that I've pieced together. And maybe it's some extra fruit and some veggies. Maybe they're steamed, maybe they're raw, a little bit of kosher salt or Himalayan pink salt, a little bit of olive oil, and that's it. But they still have nutrients, they're still delivering. Sometimes they're cold, sometimes I don't even get a chance to cook them. Those are times when I'm keeping my goals in check. And, maybe I did cook it before and I can appreciate that I put that effort in for myself and I made it the way that it still tastes good. Or maybe have a lower calorie sauce with it that I like and that still delivers for me. And it's not pretty, but it still gets me closer to my goals. So Sometimes we kind of need to take a step away from Instagram and food as an entertainment source, not just eating out of boredom, but it's something that's been highly curated. It's food porn. Um, and sometimes we need to recognize that there is that aspect of it now, and that's not what food is. Food is supposed to be love and something you pour yourself into, and there's emotion that goes into food. So it's kind of something they say with baking, like you can just bake a loaf of anxiety. Like your feelings go into the loaf depending on the temperature of your hands, how much you work it, and that sort of thing. And so, whether you're just starting out and you're buying pre-cut vegetables and you're sauteing them or just steaming them in a bag, you're still loving yourself in that manner, and you'll grow on those skills and you'll build on them the more you do it. But you got to take away the intimidation factor. And so we just have to honor and respect where we're starting out at as well. Time has become an issue for a lot of families, a lot of individuals. A lot of studies say that some people feel that it's too difficult, that you should let businesses do it for you, or that studies are saying that people don't like to cook, whereas other studies are saying that it's becoming more popular now and more of a skill-based activity, and it's more involved and it's more bougie and kind of a luxury activity, but that still kind of puts it up on a pedestal as well. So some of the things we need to zone in on then are, what are our challenges with cooking and making homemade nutrient-dense meals. So a lot of these challenges might be skill-based. They might be in planning, in getting ideas, grocery shopping, in prepping and cooking skills that we need to work on maybe the basic prep and cooking skills of knife skills and cleaning, and getting our mise en place in order. So that's all the ingredients, all the utensils, having those all gathered prior. And if you look at a lot of recipes, which granted I don't look at them as much anymore, but if you look at the ingredients in order, that's typically the order you're going to be cooking them in or adding them to the dish in. So that's one way that you can kind of look ahead and see like what the next step is. They'll normally list them cut or prepared in the way that they need to be entered into the dish too. So kind of start to learn to do all your cutting ahead of time, have those things cut. If the herbs are minced, if the potatoes are diced, if the chicken is going to be seared or something like that, or something needs cleaned, it'll normally list those. So just kind of get that in mind, and that would be called your mise en place. So get your mise in order. So those are skills that you kind of want to build on, and get to where you can have an idea of your timeline in order based on the recipe itself, or your own personal recipe. If you're going to make something, kind of have a blueprint in line based on what you're wanting to do. And then when you become more natural at just cooking intuitively, instinctively, it's very much like a dance. You have already built up that skill of like timelining out what you're about to do. Some of the other challenges that people face when they are thinking of making homemade meals is that they're busy, they lack energy, they're distracted, or maybe they're not prioritizing the food itself. They have time scarcity perceptions, so they think it's going to be more of a time investment than maybe it even actually is. And sometimes the quicker route is actually a bigger time investment. Like we said, going to a restaurant, placing a takeout order, waiting for it to get there. To me, that sounds like I'm waiting. It's a lot longer. It takes longer for someone else to drive things to me and for me to pay for it on an app than if I just went in the kitchen and microwaved or sauteed just some food I already had at least halfway prepared. Some people say, and maybe they genuinely don't at the face of it, they don't enjoy cooking. But a lot of people find that as they get used to the act of it, a lot of people love cooking. And a lot of people love it so much that they love the act of it being a big ordeal. And that also is kind of an issue with time scarcity, that they love it, they enjoy it, but maybe their idea of it is a whole cupcake recipe or a whole cake or a whole pot roast or dish from scratch. It's a very long, drawn out, involved process. And while those are okay, we still need to learn how to master the quick, the simple. And I find I like those best, the ones that are handful of ingredients. They're not even a recipe. They're honoring the ingredients we put in. A lot of times those are the ones that they kind of honor the handful of taste receptors that we have: sweet, salty, maybe a little bit of spicy, crunchy, acidity, lemon, maybe just a hint of fat, but not much, like olive oil. They have a certain mouth feel to them, moist. To me, that's sauteed vegetables. Just toss in some olive oil real quick, maybe a squeeze of lemon juice and some salt on them, and maybe a little bit of red chili flakes, maybe not. Maybe they don't even need that much. Maybe I just want the crunch and the freshness of the vegetables themselves, and that flavor is so just a lot to me that that's enough. And a lot of times we think sweet, and we don't realize that, starches themselves have that, they register as that even in salty foods, even in vegetables that don't have sugar added to them. They still have those starches, and that still is like enjoyable to us. So something else we want to think of is, the nutrition in the foods that we're eating, what they're giving to us, vegetables and fruits over sodas and stuff like that. And there's a lot of easy ways that we can get those. Frozen fruits and vegetables are still going to deliver a lot of nutrients compared to getting something completely pre-made and canned or something along those lines. But there's still a lot of pre-made goods that are just easy, and we can build on them. So it's just a matter of switching around those perceptions, and zoning in on, why we prioritize the benefits of homemade meals, and, they're healthier, maybe they're more satisfying, they're more affordable. I made this soup earlier today. If anyone follows me on Instagram, they saw it. I threw it together in like 10 minutes. I've been calling this my $100 pot of soup because I was going to go to the grocery store today. And, we typically have chicken thighs, some sort of protein cooked off. And I realized we didn't. So I was thinking, oh, I guess I'll go to the grocery store, pick some up and cook them off, just to have one available, which is still a great habit to have. We usually have a grain or starch of some sort, or a carb. If I don't have rice cooked, we have some on the back of the stove. Have a drawer full of potatoes that I can microwave and bake. Not even like the full oven ordeal bake. Like wrap them, clean them, wrap them in paper towel and bake them. That's a pretty typical meal for me. Today, I made what I've been calling my $100 pot of soup, lentil soup, because I could have gone and got the chicken, but I know I would have spent $100 on a grocery trip. I just went like yesterday or the day before. My husband just forgot to tell me that we needed chicken, or he thought that we had more than we did. And I know I would have spent another $100 at the store, even though we just went. So made a quick pot of soup from scratch. It was simple, it was easy. It took 10-15 minutes to throw together. I used leftover odds and ends out of the fridge, some dried lentils, which don't even need to be pre-soaked. You can just cook them as is. They're a wonderful high protein, high fiber little grain that a lot of people are too intimidated to use. A lot of people still probably have bags of them that they bought during the pandemic quarantine period, and they're just sitting there, they don't know what to do with them. A lot of people get these ideas around like you need a recipe, or it has to be a thing. Like my husband even does that too. He wants dal tadka, or a certain type of Indian dish. And I love it when he forgets to cook his own food, because then I get to throw something together, and my favorite dishes and recipes and stuff don't have a name. He just woke up too. So this one is just lentils. We had some extra chicken sausages, veggies. Would you stop? I'm recording. I'm recording this. Oh, he's making fun of me. So I paused it. He works third shift, so he was just waking up. So we had a quick little conversation. One of the other benefits of making meals from scratch too is the cognitive benefits. We learn to observe, adapt, we start to memorize recipes. We're starting to use mobile skills. We're fine tuning skills with cutting. And even if we're not doing a ton of cutting and prepping, like we're building on flavors and layers, and, we're remembering things. We're remembering how we made stuff last time, and we're getting better at, being adaptable, being creative. And those are all areas of our brain that long term are a lot healthier for our brains cognitive wise. So there's a lot of benefits with that, with sensory perception and being able to organize, and just, it's like music or anything creative like that, where you learn all the basics just to forget them, just to not even need them, and just, it's like a dance. Then you're moving, you're just cooking and going about things. I barely look at my hands or down when I'm cooking sometimes. I'm just kind of shifting and moving around and just going through the motions and the joy of everything. Some of the best dishes are, some of them are only a handful of items, like I mentioned earlier, like green beans, olive oil, some kosher salt, and maybe a little bit of lemon juice. And that's why I don't use a lot of recipes, because they're single item recipes. And you can do that with canned items or with frozen items. You don't have to just use, something from scratch, a vegetable from scratch. You had to cut it, you had to peel it, you had to I made part of the soup. I used canned potatoes. They were pre-peeled, they were in a can, they were in water. You could do the same thing. You could pop them open, you could put them in an air fryer with some olive oil, some ghee, and some cracked salt and pepper, and pop them in your air fryer. And that way you don't have to peel them, you don't have to pre-boil them, they're already partially there. I keep a can of them in my pantry. I keep canned white beans, stuff like that, all the time, in case I just ever need to grab them and go. I also have a ton of completely prepared frozen items. And a lot of it is just learning how to read nutrition labels. Like, that alone is a skill that you can sharpen, and just makes your day easier. And maybe we're not even to the point of cooking, but we're organizing for our day and we're laying things out. And, part of my morning is, or my day before prep, sorry, I use these and an English muffin and some turkey bacon. And, I'll take one of these out, set a piece of turkey bacon with it, have my English muffin ready, and I have it ready for the morning, so I can just put it in the microwave and go. Same with anything I'm packing for lunch. Like, I pre-set it out even in the fridge. Same with fruit. I pre-bag it up, pre-cut it. And then I always have things on hand that they're healthy, but they're pre-prepared. Like, they're pre-portioned blends for smoothies. The main thing I look for on these, though, is I'll still read the nutrient panel: lower in fats, lower in saturated fat, trans fats. If they have any fats, they're healthy. Decent amount of protein, 10 grams of fiber, some sugar, but it's fruit, it's vegetables. It has 16 grams, but there's no added sugar in this. So while I didn't sit and prep everything for the smoothie, it still hits all the marks, so I can incorporate that into my day. Same as, frozen cut vegetables, stuff like this. Like, I always keep these on hand. And like I said, I have pre-cooked grains. It depends on to what level. Actually, let's see. Okay, well, you can't see the packaging, but this is a little pre-done cup of quinoa, so it's stuff like that. And the great thing about these is I can take this to work. It's shelf stable. I can leave it in my bag all day. It doesn't matter. I leave it in my bag for multiple days, or in the trunk of my car. And I know the nutrient content of this. I can pop it in the microwave. Same with pre-cooked chicken. We were talking some about that earlier. Or even, healthier, less preservatives, less nitrites, deli meats, stuff like that. It's still chicken. It's still lean. It still has, minimal amount of ingredients. It's still hitting the markers that you're looking for. We just didn't roast the whole chicken and slice it, sort of thing. But you can still portion that out. You can still have it portioned out the day before, make a wrap, have it in a bag so you can snack on it. Just stuff like that. Like, a lot of my meals are not prepped very much in terms of cooking. A lot of the food I eat is not cooked. It's portioned. And that alone is a skill that a lot of people you know, they learn to fine tune. And that's one of the biggest parts of everything is just game planning and portioning and organizing your day and getting into a good habit and a good routine and, you know, utilizing um, utilizing what is available to you and just learning how to identify things that are healthy. You don't have to make everything, and that's what defines it as healthy. So we're just kind of, you know, redefining cooking so that it's more inclusive. We're identifying skill based barriers for ourselves. We're seeing where our strengths are and, you know, focusing on what areas are going to help make our lives easier. So, healthy for some people might be organic and, you know, this and that, but it also might be less mental stress. It might be quicker. It might be more time with their family. And that might look like a bag of frozen pre grilled chicken that they threw in the fridge the day before to thaw. It might be, you know, an example from earlier. It might be a bag of salad mix. Um, it might be, you know, working a pre-made frozen breakfast sandwich into your day that might not be the healthiest. Maybe it has a little bit more fat in it or something like that, but you're working the rest of the day to work around that as opposed to going through a drive-through or, you know, having like a full plate of biscuits and gravy and fried tater tots at the dining hall because, you know, in your head that's quicker, but is it really? You're going through the line, you're going through the process, you're having to walk down there as opposed to just having something you can heat up. My dogs are being super noisy, sorry. And just learning to fine tune those skills, you know, assessing our barrier of entry, assessing things that are healthy for us, and, you know, leaning into things that are nutrient dense, that are still hitting all the health markers we want, regardless of how much actual prep we put into it. And the easier we make all that stuff on ourselves, the more we can start to pick up on what we like, pick up on the flavors that we like, build things that we like, the meals that we like together, and layer those skills. So it might be something where we're just learning how to identify and read nutrient labels and pick out healthier foods for ourselves. And then maybe, you know, we start to cook a little bit here. We start to buy, you know, leaner chicken based, like fancy sausages. My husband loves these. And stuff like these that are like roasted red pepper sausages. I sliced these up and put them in our soup this evening for one of our proteins. I used the canned potatoes. I used dried lentils. We had some extra spinach I threw in there. Had half an onion, a whole pantry of spices. Yes, that's a lot of cooking and a lot of work. He can also make a whole meal out of these, just slicing them up. He throws them in scrambled eggs. He can, you know, just have them as a hot dog. Just little things like that. And I know for a lot of people that's still more than they're wanting to start with. But just to get an idea that, you know, we're finding healthy alternatives, we're finding things that we like, that maybe, you know, I love this brand because a lot of them are sugar free. It depends on your definition of healthy. You know, maybe you don't like artificial sweeteners or, you know, maybe you're wanting more whole foods. But to me, this is definitely the lesser of two evils because it tastes like the Thai chili sauce you would get with crab rangoons or something that I can make a stir fry with, and I'm using less true sugar-based ingredients. Or maybe I'm finding, you know, some brand. I love barbecue, so I use a sugar-free barbecue sauce. I have sugar-free ketchups. I'll make a sugar-free cocktail sauce. Some people don't want to use as many, and I don't use these like crazy. I lean into them. But to me, I can use these with meals that might be heavier and I'm having them with other individuals. I am having them either when we go out to eat or if someone in my family wants to do something heavier and I don't want to be stressed about what choices I'm going to make and it still meet their needs or their taste. I will take those with me to a restaurant. I have no problem with it. So it's like the lesser of two evils for me using, you know, sugar-free things here and there compared to, you know, just saying, screw it, let's do the fried fish, let's do the whole shebang. When I keep those things in mind and I find my own alternatives, it keeps me from saying, forget it and going all in. I'm still problem solving and figuring out the healthy alternatives the same as I would with any pre-made products. I still use a lot of pre-made products or pre-cooked or packaged. I'm just still applying the same logic. So it's redefining our idea of cooking, our idea of what we perceive as healthy, and kind of eliminating the barriers that Instagram and social media or ourselves, like what we're creating, so that we can still find healthy within our lives and within our limits. Not to limit ourselves. Sorry, my dog is being super annoying right now. If you can hear her, she's breathing at the door. Please stop. So, like I was saying, it's assessing our entry level, our skill level, and recognizing that while we want to build on those, we can still find healthy that meets those needs. And maybe finding ways that are less stressful is healthier, in the grand scheme of things, because we can be more consistent, it's more sustainable for us, it's less stressful, it fits our lives. And as we get better at those, maybe then we can add in more from scratch, more cooking, more, from the start, and it's the whole recipe, the whole shebang, and we can create our own. But we also kind of learn those tricks and tools in the back of our head for when we're busy, when we're on the go, when we didn't pack any lunch. I keep a whole box of oatmeal or rice cakes or bag of almonds, protein bars, little protein drinks. I keep those in my car because they're all shelf stable. So if I have to run out the door to meet a client for a personal training session, I know that I can stop and get a coffee and I can add the protein to it and it's still good. I know I have rice cakes if I'm going to get my workout in and I didn't eat before. Maybe I went straight to the grocery store, straight to run an errand. I'd rather go to the gym, but I have not eaten prior. I'm not going to be, going half the day and just skipping a meal or something like that, or going through drive-through. It's just those little things that we start to, they're the not prep. They make it so much easier, as opposed to having to have a meal plan, having to have a grocery list, having to have a full recipe, having to batch cook the whole week's worth of food in one day. Cook one thing. Cook some chicken. Buy a rotisserie chicken and break it apart. Even pre-weigh things out if that helps you. If that's even too much, buy individually portioned things. Whatever it is, find those things and lean into them. Like, don't feel bad about them. Lean into them and feel empowered that you were able to recognize them and that you work them into your life. And then when you go to a restaurant, you can look for the same things and you can, think about the same sorts of dishes and make the same sorts of decisions because you've built on all these skills. So I hope some of this has helped. I have rambled a little bit. We will pick up on if anyone has any questions or if anyone has anything that they want to discuss more. Maybe it's the actual skills, maybe it's cooking skills themselves. If anyone needs shown things, let me know. That way I can plan ahead. If you want me to, maybe you do want to cook your chicken, but it's always dry, or maybe cutting some vegetables ahead of time, or fruit. Like, you love pineapple, but you just don't even know how to start with the thing. It's the whole, from start to finish. Those things that I don't know are your barriers of entry. Let me know, and maybe you don't have to buy the pre-cut every time. Maybe I can show you how to cut a pineapple, and you can buy them when you see them for 99 cents next time, and that'll be, the entry, because a lot of fruits, when you learn how to cut one, you kind of realize that you can do the same with all the others. With vegetables, once you learn how to prepare one, you can kind of use the same preparation for all the others. Proteins, really similar. Like, once you've made one protein, you're just kind of using those same techniques and skills, applying them to the others. Then that's where you start to build with layers and flavors and changing the time and the technique. So let me know what areas of that I can help you with. Let me know if you want me to do a grocery shopping trip and either like lay the whole haul out or take the phone with me, whichever one works easiest. Let me know where you're shopping at, and I will go through and find the breakfast items and share them with you and talk about the nutritional panels, um, talk about what that store carries. I'm in an area where we have a lot of different chains. Somehow it's so, maybe you don't have one store, but you do have a Walmart and you just don't know what's healthy to buy there. Let me know. Let me know in the comments, and I would love to help you guys. But otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.